how do we actually get more like 1,000% return for that member investment by having a club that really changes their habits for life, that really provides an experience of what can be, and then that changes the trajectory of their future investments and behaviors, and it changes every day how they feel in their body. It's really, really empowering.
The Well Pro Show, brought to you by futurist thought leader Cate Stillman and the team at Wellness Pro Academy.
Hey, this is Cate Stillman with Wellness Pro Academy, and I'm going to go through how clubs work. And this is a bit of a tall order where I'm going to help you see everything behind the club model as a business model, everything from like your client and avatar to what beliefs they would need to change to even enroll in your club and get the results from being in your club, what their current frustrations are. We're going to get into really what habits and what design for your club is actually going to work best for the people you can help the most, and where your unique abilities fit into like how the actual operations work within a club and enrollment and where the leads come from and all that. So without further ado, let's go right to it. All right. So how do clubs work? And even wrapping your mind around the club model, I'm just going to repeat that it's based on the progression of economic value. This is the economic value ladder in case you missed it in Econ 101. So you can see at the top right, number 5, that's guided transformation. And what this is understanding is that like people have to have a number of breakdowns and breakthroughs on the path to transformations, that you need to create a structure where people can transform. That is the business model, is building the structure, including how people find out about it, to what people need to understand in order to sign up for it, in order to commit to it, in order to show up as a club member. So it's a very different role from a lot of healing structures, at least in the allopathic world, are based on hierarchy. And this takes a lot of hierarchy out, and it very much puts the member in a different role with their own process on their transformational journey. What is the guided transformation? Well, that's why you're in Lead Your Club. We're going to help you figure that out. You're going to talk with one of our people eventually if you want to figure out how to customize your club unique to your personality. All right. So what this is understanding is that, okay, if we zoom way, way, way out, like how are most wellness pros operating their career right now? And they have a business model where they're in the middle of their member interactions, or their client or customer or patient interactions. And so there's no room for another way of behaving for the members. And we're seeing this all over the planet. So if we zoom out, it's not just you as a wellness pro. It's like wellness pros are having this issue. And to me, it's an issue that has everything to do with not understanding how to package guided transformation and how to enroll and how to have start dates and how the whole club business model should work. So that's what we're going to get into. And the idea here is that this is kind of cool. By zooming out, you're going to see that your clients have the same issues. Like one of the things that I find for Club Heal, which is where we demonstrate this business model. This is at clubthrive.global. Heal is the club over there where we help people heal, is once people find that like, oh, the reason they can't heal is they haven't been in a culture where people are led through a healing experience, including with commitment and timeline and contractually, then it's hard to get to results. You end up piecemealing all the things. And then as the wellness pro, they end up piecemealing all the things for their people. So when we step back and see that there's a bigger picture and we all have a story in our head of why we as a wellness pro might be struggling or what parts of this business model might be really hard, what we'll find is that that's actually, as we zoom out, it's more culture again. As we zoom out and see from a bigger perspective, it's like, oh, all these little nodes, all these other nodes in the web are interconnected. And so what we're going to look at is like how to heal the business skills in order for you to have more time, in order for you to actually have more impact and make more money, because those 3 things are tied, and they're directly tied to how you're operating your day to day. And if we look back and see the political, economic, and social forces that are shaping this, what we can see as well, the allopathic model is paid for by insurance or by governments, and the healing model isn't, so it's cash out of pocket. And healers have been working on a low commitment one-off basis, when what we really need is high commitment from our members in order for us to help them get to results, because there's going to be breakdowns and breakthroughs. There's going to be high times and low times. There's going to be lack of engagement and deep engagement. And so how do we actually get people? And that's our own journey as healers. I'd say that's the healing and the heroine's journey that we're all on, is exactly that. And because we're on that together, It does make it a little easier to see that we're part of this interconnected web and that there's a power in the web. And the more you bring that into your members, you start to see that, okay, your club is how you create it. So what's the culture of your club? What habits does your club have? And as you think that, you're connecting people right into the solution and you get to create this. So for me in Club Heal, like we have a culture that's rested, that's nourished, that's fit. Like those things are really cool to be in Club Heal. It's not that cool to be burning the candle at both ends when you're in Club Heal. It's just not. And so we can create a club within modern culture. And that's really what our members want is they are coming because they know they can't do it on their own and that being with the right people, being in the right culture will help. That's part of the marketing and sales process that I'll show you in a minute. So our club at Club Heal, which a lot of wellness pros are basing theirs off of, just to understand what we do. This is where we model the way. This isn't where you do it exactly like us because you're going to figure out your unique genius and do it yourself. But you can use ours, you can use a lot of our ideas as much as you want. And you can also use our free access done for you part that where we're going to give you the core components to get your club off. Now, a lot of people don't, a lot of wellness pros don't want that because they already have their core curriculum or core content. Great. So either way, we're just trying to get you to the club model faster. And that's really our deal. So the whole idea here, and you can see the people helping each other up the ladder to feeling good from having health issues. Like that's really what your club is solving for. So that's what the business model is based on. That's what it's all about. And it gets to have your personality. So whatever personality you want your club to have, and it doesn't have to be a direct reflection of your personal personality. It's more of like you choosing like, oh, this club is going to have a vibe. This club is going to have it's going to have its own personality. And what is that? And this is something like my clubs have a lot of connection. They have a lot of depth. They have a lot of, how do you say it? The bhavana, like the feeling essence of the club is like very connected. So when people start, they're like brand new in and they just instantly come in and most people are like, wow, this is a connected group. So those are things I noticed from leading. And once you actually have a club in motion for a while, you're going to notice the personality. And then you can continually design for the personality you want it to have more. So we are strong in collective leadership. And that's part of the personality of the club that I'm not in the middle. And I'm going to show you how to get out of the middle as well in just a moment. So again, you and your club's potential, you've got your unique ability that's sandwiched between your expertise and your personality, right? That's something that your club's going to be different than any other club. And then where your expertise intersects your leadership skills, and in Club Thrive will help you grow your leadership skills. This is something that we're known for. What happens is that your members get to results faster because you're actually able to lead from your expertise and you're designing it around your unique ability. So what we've really got to look at next is how do leads become members and how does the whole enrollment cycle work? So we're going to go over to my pad next. All right. So this is an image like we just saw, actually how leads become members. And so what we have is like time is on the bottom. So how long does it take from someone to hear of you to become a member, to actually pay your club price? And the club price is for an annual membership to become a member for a year. And what I'm saying is like, how people hear of you, we're going to call that marketing. And then that's going to start to intersect with a sales or conversational sales process because it has to be conversational sales because your club memberships need to be more than $2,000. And that's how sales, for the most part, over $2,000 are made or conversationally. Now, there's beliefs that need to change for your prospects to become members of your club. And that's really what we're looking at here is how do leads become members of the club. And what you want to look at in this, so much so, is exactly what problem are you solving? And so when I look at Club Heal, the problem that I'm solving for my members in Club Heal, the problem that I'm solving for those members is they're going to learn how to heal. Like they're going to learn how healing works, about healing crises, about the habits of circadian rhythm that human beings should have, and so much more. And it's like exactly what I've distilled from being a healer for 20 years to like exactly what's the most condensed core curriculum that someone would need to heal, to have in their backpack, tools that they have in their backpack that they've actually implemented so they know how to use all the tools. They know how to use all the tools in real time. And I'm partly solving that through a core curriculum that's really short, that's 7 weeks for them to implement over the course of the year. And I'm solving it through building the structure of the community around the person. So here's the individual, and I'm saying, okay, I'm going to build a whole structure around you where all these other people are in here, and some of these people are mentors. And for you, this is you to your group, and some of these people are members, right? And they start to interact and connect, and all of a sudden, this whole web is fashioned between them, and they get super interconnected, and then healing happens faster. It's why groups heal faster than individuals. All right. So one of the core problems that we look at in terms of the business model and in terms of where we want to go next is that most of the wellness pros that come to us, their healing skills on a scale of 1 to 10, like their healing skills are super high. Their business skills are super low, right? So low business skills, high healing skills. They have a business model that isn't around an offer that leads to results. They're not then booking enough appointments to get the offer in front of people. They're not enrolling and leading with systems. So that's all the gap in the business skills that has to be made up. And that's what our club is at Wellness Pro Academy. That's what we're guiding you through, done with you, where we're not doing it for you, but you're learning how to do it. And once you learn how to do it, you have it for the rest of your life. But you're putting it into action in real time. And we'll get into that part in a second. So what happens with high healing skills, low business skills is over here, where you get less money, less impact, and you're putting in more time because you're in the middle. Versus when the business skills are up here at 10 with the healing skills, then you get more time to yourself, right? So you're less time working and more money and more impact. So the question then to me is, if you understand that your avatar, or the person who's going to be a great fit for your clubs, that there's certain constraints. Like one constraint most wellness pros find is that, like for us with Club Heal, it's $6,700 right now to be a member of Club Heal. So the constraint is whether or not they're going to invest $6,700. Now, what we know, if we go back to this slide, is most people who hear of us, when they hear of us, they don't have the belief that I'm ready to invest $6,700 to be in Club Heal. So then that's the job of our sales and marketing process, is to help figure out with them whether or not this is the smartest investment they could ever possibly make at this juncture in their life right now. And if that is true, then they become a member. They flow right through and become a member. So that's operationally what we're trying to master, is understand what are the core things that our members who are in the market. So all of you have people who you could help, and all they would have to do is pay whatever your club fee is and become a member, and then you could guide them and they would be committed and they would show up. Why? Because first, the reason is because they have skin in the game. But the second reason, because that wears off, the second reason is because it's such a damn good club. Like the club is meeting so many of their needs and more. And your clubs will do this, because I've seen this from all my work with the yoga health coaches over the last, since 2012, where it's the business model works. The wellness pro is great at it just naturally because it actually works with their skill sets. And then it's just a question of this part of like, well, what are the beliefs? Well, that's the marketing and the sales problem that we overcome in club. So the interesting thing is, all the member has to get in terms of return on investment is what? Well, if they've invested $6,700, some people go with like the 10x rule, that like every dollar you should invest, you should get 10x back. Well, that's not how the market works. Anyone who's ever invested in stock or whatever, like you're usually only earning a 10% return, not a 10x, not a 10x return, right? Not 1,000% return. And that's, though, what we actually look at is more of like, well, how do we actually get more of like 1,000% return for that member investment? By having a club that really changes their habits for life, that really provides an experience of what can be. And then that changes the trajectory of their future investments and behaviors, and it changes every day how they feel in their body. It's really, really empowering.
Attention established wellness leaders. If you've built a thriving practice but hit the ceiling on growth, this is for you. It's Cate Stillman, and in this free training, I'm working specifically with wellness pros who have 5+ years of experience and are ready to scale. Whether you run a boutique studio, an integrative clinic, or have a dedicated healing practice, if you're serving a client load and know you could impact more lives with the right strategy, let's talk. You'll get a one-on-one with my assistant, and if your offer shows serious scaling potential, you'll also receive a free strategy session with me. Visit wellnesspro.academy and click on free training to design your next level offer and break through your growth ceiling. That's wellnesspro.academy, and just look for the free training button up in the upper right corner.
Okay, so that's a little bit about how the marketing process works that we teach in club. Is like you have beliefs that you have to overcome for the right people to actually get. These are members who get results. So what does this look like in terms of enrollment? So someone, again, they hear of you, so they're over here in this part to becoming a member. And what needs to change? Well, there's constraints, which we just mentioned, that they have to understand after they've worked through beliefs and actually have access to credit or capital in which to make smarter investments in themselves. You have to understand their frustrations really, really specifically. The principles and convictions that you have as a wellness pro are really important. So you can hear, I have a lot of conviction around the club model. Right? I'm just saying, like, this club model, it works. Why? Because you actually get members to results. What does that do? Well, it makes you a way better wellness pro. Right? People don't fall off the wagon in club, right? Like, they stay on the wagon, they're committed. So then what does it do? Well, it makes up the gap between your marketing and sales skills, right, and your healing skills, and then the promises that they actually with Club Heal, my promise is they heal. They learn the skills of healing within a year. Do they totally have zero health ailments whatsoever? No. They learn how to heal, right, and they go on a healing journey, and they work through healing crises, and they detox, and they're living the circadian rhythm habits, and they understand their fasting feasting rhythm, and all these basic core things that are the core convictions, right? The core convictions and principles of my club. And then what's the desired outcome? Again, that people come in and they heal. So once you start to understand that about your leads and members, you understand more about what the problem is you're solving. Then the question is, okay, you've got your price point, and you're going to get into that later in these lessons. So then the next question is really like, what does that look like in terms of an enrollment process? Like, so someone hears of you, or you should already have a number of existing clients. Many of you have email lists or social followings, where you actually have built a network around your work. Yay, congratulations. That's a great place to start. So all those people are leads, right? And so when a lead, how does a lead become a member? And then how many, like, really the question for most people is like, how many start dates a year? Like, how many times can people come into the club? What we're teaching, and I'll show you on the screen in a moment, what we're teaching in, again, I'll say this in Club Heal, is like, we have a basic 7-week curriculum that they do over the course of the whole year. So they do the first 7 weeks, but then they implement. So they might learn it quick and then implement. It takes, we're saying, a year for implementation. Our other constraint with Club Heal is that people need to heal. Like, that's why they're going in there, is they need to heal. They have some healing work to do. Club Hero is for people who graduated out of Club Heal or didn't need to do that work in this lifetime yet, and have a surplus of energy, have a surplus of creativity, and want to hit a bigger mission in their life, a bigger dharma, a bigger dream, who want to invest and maybe make a lot more capital, might want to be wealthy, might want to be impactful, just really want to see, like, the game of life and what can I do in this lifetime. That's Club Hero. So Club Heal, there's a constraint on Club Hero that if you're not healed, you've no business in Club Hero. You're in Club Heal. So again, that's our higher price mastermind after Club Heal. And that's what we're hoping to graduate people to. So that's one of our desired outcomes in Club Heal, is that people are actually ready to take on bigger dreams in their lives. And that's, a separation between when you've done enough healing work that you're able to then, ride on those habits daily that are super working for you, and then step way more into purpose work. So you're going to want to figure this out, or be thinking about this, and I'll guide you through this in terms of the design your club, So then the question is, how many start dates? That's where we were. And I just said, well, because our curriculum is 7 weeks, and we know we're going to be bringing people in continuously, because we don't we don't want someone to have to wait a year to start the club because the club just started. So anyway, you want to skin a year. So you could skin it in quarters. You can also skin it in sixes. So because our core curriculum is 7 weeks, so here's where new members start. Let's just say they are starting here at 12 o'clock. Then we'd say, well, there's like 6 waves. So there's 6 start dates that are each 2 months apart. So say the first start date is January 1st, then the next start date is March 1st, and then the next start date is May 1st, and then right. And so you could do it that way. That's one example. What we have done as a company in the past is we've done monthly and we've done quarterly, and it all works. It all works. What we're testing now is 6 start dates a year, 6 waves a year based on the shorter condensed curriculum. And so what does that mean? It means that everybody that joins at these they're going to overlap, right? Because then number 2 is going to start and then there, and then number 3 is going to start and then there, and then number 4. So they're going to have overlap, which means there's always going to be more advanced people in your community. And that is strategic. Because what we're teaching in Club Thrive, like right now, the way it works for most wellness pros is like, this is the wellness pro. And then they have their clients and they're in the middle, essentially, right? Like oh, you also see Miranda, or oh, you also see Lauren, or oh, you also see Mike, or oh, you're also going to Patrick's classes or whatever. And so it's ends up being very much a drain on the leader because everyone is connecting through the leader. And what we're saying is like, yeah, that's gonna be super limiting in terms of your time, your energy, your resources, and your leverage. And so what if instead you do the opposite, and your job as the leader is to actually create the structure for your members to connect, to create this is kind of how I see it. I take myself as the leader and I put myself really as holding the whole container. And then I'm allowing everybody else to connect, right? And that's how the group gains strength. Now, some people have been in it for a while and some people are brand new. What happens is you get that effect. You start to get the spider web effect, right? And when that happens, it's actually easier for the personality of the club to gain traction. It's easier for the habits that the club is based on, the convictions that your club is based on, for that to get traction. So everything actually works better when you have this overlapping model. We've tested so many models over time. I've been leading clubs essentially since 2007. If you bring the Yogi Detox in, which is a really short one, since 2002. So I know what I'm talking about here. Overlap gives a group momentum. And you can also think of it as, this is one way we used to describe it, you can think of it as a bus. And the bus makes stops. So this bus is going to stop and let people on and off a few times a year. What we find in the club model is a lot of people re-enroll. So this would be January, this would be March, this would be May. And all that's happening is the bus is coming to a stop sign, right? And new members are getting on. And some members will stay and they'll re-up, and other members will be done. Now, some of you will do what we do. We model the way on this, which is we also will promote mentors within the community who are simply members that are starting to look a little bit more, not necessarily like a wellness pro, but are really holding the energy and the structure and the integrity and the habits and the personality. So what can happen is like natural leaders will start to come up. And because our emphasis here is to actually help build leadership, then your job is to actually, in many ways, to give more responsibility to members who actually need responsibility to grow more. Some people need more responsibility to grow more, to actually step into their voice, to step into their power, to step into their dharma. And this is something we've seen time and again. And so simply by building the infrastructure and building the opportunities, you're actually building opportunities for mentors. So this is where, again, this is more in the advanced stage where the club model goes. And you can have people assigned to each wave of people coming in. So you might have a mentor that's helping just new people on board. And that can be a great way to go about it as well. So I just wanted to show this in terms of then, well, how do you get, say, the number of members? And some people are going to want 15 members in a club, and some people are going to want 100 members in a club, and it scales. So you can do it in either way. So if you were doing 15 members in a club, you just take that 6 and divide it by, or you take 12 months and divide it by, if you only wanted 15 in a club, you have to enroll like 1.3 people a month, right? So that means only like 2 or 3 people are starting a couple times a year. Does that work? Yeah. It does work. And for the person who wants to sell 150 seats to their club, then, 150 divided by 12, right? Now it's like, oh, okay, I've got to enroll a decent chunk of people each month, every month, according to my annual target. So let's do that as an example. Say it's 150 people a year, and we're going to divide that by 12 months, right? And so then what do we get? Well, we're about like 12.5 people per month. So what does that mean? Well, 6 goes into 150, right? Because we have our 6 start dates. So how many people is that per? We've got 25, right? So 25 people, because we're doing it every other month. So 12.5 people a month is what we'd have to enroll. And say we wanted, and that's a big club, 150, that's huge, right? And say your club is 5K at 150, right? So that's a ton of money. It's a lot of money. So that structure, you'd want mentors. Of course, to get there, right? And that might be your goal. You're like way, way, way down the lane. And you might be like, no, actually, I just want 30 people. I'd like to have 30 people in my club at that 5K, right? And I'd like to add 150K. Then again, divided by how many times does 12 go into 30? Well, we're less than 3 people a month that we need to enroll, or less than 6 people per onboarding. So the next question, whether you're enrolling 3 people a month or 12 people a month, is where are these people going to come from, right? Where are your leads going to come from? And again, we've got to go back to what problem are you solving and for who? And what is the constraint that they have in terms of how they understand investment, return on investment, et cetera. And then what we'll help you do is basically map out the process. So as you go through this course, you're going to design your club and you're going to price your club. And that's going to give you a lot of information in terms of what'll work best. So then the question is, once you got that work done, then the question is, where's that number of leads going to turn into appointment books? And that's what we do in Club, is we have a streamlined system to do that. As a company, we've done a lot of things. We grew organically. Organic traffic, organic appointments booked, to talk to someone and see if they're a good fit for how we help people. And if they are, then how do we enroll? To paid traffic. And what we're assuming in Wellness Pro Academy and Club is that you don't have a virtual assistant and you're not buying advertising. Now, a certain percentage, we'll say 25% of people coming into Club already have a virtual assistant or 2 and are already doing paid traffic. But what we're going to show you is how to book enough appointments without paid traffic, because there's enough paid traffic courses out there. And because we do paid traffic, we can coach on that as well. So the idea is, how do you get enough people interested in what you're doing so you get enough appointments per week on your calendar? Again, if you're enrolling 12.5 people a month, like that's a full-time sales job, for someone often. But again, if you're doing that, then you're earning $750,000 a year, so you can afford a full-time salesperson. Most of you are going to start way beneath that, like way on your own, and just like trying to get the first 10 members in at 5K and at 50K income. And we're going to show you how to get the first 10 members in streamlined process that you have enough appointments booked each week to grow steadily a few members a month. And it's scalable, so you can scale it as you grow. All right, so I hope that answers your questions in terms of how the club works. This should actually probably stimulate a ton more questions if I did this training right, where you're curious about how you could make this work for you. Notice the questions that are coming up for you, and we've been proving this model for years. And that's the whole point. The point isn't to take another course. The point is to get your club up and running and earning, and for you to have more time, right, to live your wellness lifestyle and to really lead from your unique advantage.